So my pick from last weekend was actually the week before last, excuse me, was our boy Stefan Dorfin Green Tide, and he's actually in the chat somewhere, or he was. To the rewatch gang, I'm looking for him. Here he is with this little whoa, all lower caps. So of course, like I always say, if you do well and you're a get, just reach out to me and we can get stuck in sometime. So don't worry about that. Now, this was a fun, different twist on Green Tide. You always hear people talking about, just play Green Tide because the meta's, all best for elites and vehicles. And they're right, but it's still difficult because so many things are so killy at this point that just running the same old, I'm going to drown you in bodies doesn't necessarily work. So there's a bit more tech pieces on this list. Our boy did use some more cunning tactics, like actually utilizing strategic reserves for one of his mobs, for example. So this was a good one. We start off with Boss Nigrot, the most cunning Git himself, followed by a mob of a Pain Boy and a War Boss together, one with the Pain Boy with the Bloodthirsty Belligerence, then a War Boss and a on his own with the Ferocious Show Off, another War Boss, and then a Weird Boy. And so we had doubled up on the big 3-man mobs on the characters, and then he would put one of those 20-man units into reserves. Then we have, so like I said, he has two 20-man units of boys, which is not that I'm gonna say it's like low because it's still a lot of bodies, but it is not the peak when the peak is 120, right? So he has three 20-man mobs, so it's still 60, and then he has three 10-man units. So that's where the unique pieces come more in play here. Now, how he actually used this was cunning again. So a lot of the time I talk about leapfrogging units, getting out of a transport, one unit getting out, another unit getting in. There's a video I did on it as well. But in this case, how he was using it in this detachment was, as you can see, he has two trucks in this detachment. He would get the trucks around the deployment line. If he had to, they could be inside behind a terrain piece. He would disembark the 3, then move the boys 6, and then go touch an objective, stage up in the mid table. So he used these 10-man units. Each one would start in a truck, and then they'd get off turn 1, start taking up space either for screening, skirmishes, putting on pressure because you're able to do sticky, really good cunning plays. And then he would fill up those trucks with 2 SWAT teams. So then he brought a 2 5-man units of flash kits and 2 tank busters with no character support. As soon as you start paying for the characters, it's a huge investment and generally kind of messes up the coherency of the Green Tide list, or it means that you only have 1 tank buster unit. So in this case, he went for 2 and then the flash kits for the SWAT team. So he has 2 separate SWAT teams here. He has the 10-man unit of commandos and 2 minimum size unit of Gretchen. So because you can see he's putting all these 10-man units forward of boys, and then the ones in reserve of the 20, and then the other 2 20s are staged up in the best, most ideal places. That means that 2 Gretchen really are just for screening typically, unless it's very obviously cases screening the backfield, excuse me, unless it's obvious cases where it can move forward or late game start scoring and taking up space. But in this kind of list, no way you can let someone get behind you. That's great, right? Just get all the Gretchen on the field, and you need CP in this detachment, so if you can get them on an objective to start helping you try to farm some, that's a big deal in Green Tide. And he, of course, he actually did take some war gear on the Mando. So he took a breacher ram, the power claw, 2 custom shooters, and a rocket. So nice to see that he brought some DACA. Now, as for how it kind of rolled out most of the time was he would have the boys, like I said, would be in trucks. They'd get out, go start staging up, trying to touch objectives to sticky them, etc. Throw in the shooting units. The shooting units would try to hunt down Toroxes, what we would consider light vehicles, for example, right? So anything that they could typically wound on 2s or 3s would be ideal. And then he said that they did their rhinos, for example. He said that they did their job as they were needed, and that he would still bring them, which is a lot of back and forth when I talk to Green Tide pilots and people that are making their list. Why am I going to pay for the points? If I do I bring a mech? Do I bring a character? What I will say is where we're at in the edition is that if you're playing on GW game terrain especially, I highly invest in, paying for some DACA, even though it can be a little painful in our pocket sometimes and unreliable, because what it does is it influences the enemy's deployments, gains respect out of them, gives you options for your big push turn, and doesn't just leave you without tools, but it does take away from your mob. So like I said, the trucks, breaking down the 10-man units, putting them in reserves is how he kind of helps stretch those boys to go further. So like I said, I do actually have notes from, some of the notes from the games, and then I can go over some of the things he said from those games as well. I asked him some questions about it a little bit at the end as well. So of course, and he might be live here. So if you guys got questions, live chats, get stuck in there, lads. Let's move on to look at his matchup now. Setting up a game of Warhammer 40k can be a hassle, but it doesn't have to be. I want to highlight the best battle mat I've ever used, a 40k grid measuring mat with present battle lines for every official deployment zone, including the upcoming additions. Whether you're setting up for Crucible of Battle, Search and Destroy, it can only take a couple of minutes to get everything dialed in and ready to go. For us Ork players, the grid is a total game changer. Each square is an exact 1 inch, so it's super easy to maintain unit coherency with big mobs, maintain aura ranges, or pile-ins. It also helps remove all those finicky measuring movements like checking charges or small within 6 inches movements, because you can simply count the squares and keep the game flowing. On top of that, it makes the game easier with table quarters and positioning for secondaries. I've been using it for months and it genuinely makes the game better, smoother for both players. If you want to upgrade your setup and support the channel, check out the affiliate link in the description. Upgrade your game and support the Great WAAAGH with lighter, creative 40k grid mats. So here we are. And as you can see, he lost in the second round, but he still scored very highly. Of course, I did talk to him about it. He got third place at this event overall. So let's go into his first game. Now, I do have a little couple pictures here as well. So this was against the Eldar. Now, the mission was layout 1, mission A. So a nice old taking hold. With a little bit of a different Eldar list, right? Because I'm zooming in so you guys can actually see. Because Eldar, after they got nerfed, they were like, what can I not do if I can't just fire dragon you guys to win? It's like, all right, fine. So we have Eldar aspect hope with Osterman, Agenza, and Slilac. We have 2 minimum size units of Dark Reapers, a Dire Avenger, a Falcon, double Fire Prisms. Oh, we've seen those a little bit. Howling Banshees, just a 5-man unit. Double Rangers, 2 units of Shining Spears, 3 units of Swooping Hawk, and then 2 5 units of Spiders. So this guy was clearly going for an MSU run here. Let me see if I can pull up the notes so that you guys can actually see it too. But first, let me read what he said, and then I got the pictures. So in general, he said obviously it's an MSU Eldar list with no fire dragons. He put the Falcon and the Fire Prisms near his natural, and I pushed near my natural as the ways I stated. So I'll show you in the picture here. And he said he just wrapped a lot of units, tied them up. The enemy played too conservatively because the enemy knew he couldn't one-shot 20-man units of boys, right? That's the issue with this MSU version of Eldar. Now, do they have units that could devastate a unit of boys? You know, a 10-man unit of Warp Spiders, I think, in certain detachments might have a chance. Maybe some of their bikers, maybe if I'm not aware of it. But typically, they're not known for their one-shot giant activations. So you do play to your natural, you're going to straight take and hold. And then at some point, depending on when you go for, if you go first or second, you know when to do your push, smash him up. And so he would to WAD turn 3. So when you can WAD turn 3, there's a good chance, and you've been playing passively, good chance you can set up the win. Check out his bike, Swooping Hawks, and then use the flashing gits to pepper up some Howling Banshees. So let me show you some pictures real quick. I only moved it over so that you guys don't see all my personal stuff. No, I don't always have pictures, you know. So I wanted to show you guys. I'll put this up now. So he was against his Eldar, as we talked about before, right? When you're looking, there's the truck, as we said. The dudes got out, move 10, touch this objective, forced a response. There's a Snicker out readying the jump. 20-man unit staging up here. His truck as well, poking here. The boys can jump out. I don't know if these are reserved or what he's going on here, or if, we're getting ready to put him on the table, what exactly. But that's what he was talking about with the enemy's vehicles, excuse me. This is more their response, trying to flip his natural. As you can see, he's staging up and touching the middle. Probably they can't really one-shot that 20-man unit. If it's a 20-man, if it's a 10, he could still try to regrow them, which is what he was kind of baiting here. And again, as you can see, there were little pushes, and he still has a lot of the units back in this corner, right? So when is he really going to go to contend that middle? So as he said, once he WAD turned 3, I'm assuming these bikes had come forward at some point, and then he just smashed them up. So yeah, great job by that. Now let me take this off so that I can move to his next game. So this next game is actually the one he lost, and I did ask him about it. And I did, of course, ask him a little bit extra notes about that. Boom, boom. What's up, you guys? So this was into the world he does. We have a Demon Prince of Corn with Unleashed Hell. There is some kind of good combo there. I can't remember exactly. Chat kind of remind me what that combo is. The Demon Princes are a little slept on in World Leaders. We have Karn the Betrayer, a Master of Executioners, and a Slaughterbound. A big old 10-man unit of Zerker, 2 10-man units of Zerkers, and then 2 units of Rhinos. 1 Land Raider with its last cannons and such. A Chaos Spawn, 1 unit of 8-bound, and Exalted 8-bound, double Baby Hellbrute, double Jack. So a little bit of different tools, such as like the Land Raiders and such, but the 10-man units are kind of coming more and more nowadays. They do punch up very, very well. Great volume, and they up to strength 6. Each of those units has multiple of what their versions are of Power Fists. They're fast. If you get near their transports, they can disembark. But as for how it actually broke down, let me move over to that. He said it was game 2, mission M, layout 6, purge the foe. He said he went first and that he didn't actually get his pictures because his phone was dying. But he said the Gore tracks World Eaters that came out and came out the Rhino. Okay. Okay, it's the Gore track onslaught. So the ones that actually get out of the transport. Okay, so they don't get the extra strength from all that buffs, but they get different buffs. He said so they get lance when they get out of the transports. I did not remember all his rules. It's a different, more niche version of World Eaters. So he kept 1 War Boss brick and Grots in reserve. The 2 Hellbrutes hurt him really bad, he said. He said also the opponent normally plays orcs and he plays orcs often, so he knows orcs to a certain degree. He said he also failed some charges. I said, okay, I understand. Let me see. He said he played a little bit too conservatively here. And once he failed the charges, he ended up misplaying about the Hellbrutes. So if you don't know, the Hellbrutes is when they charge, let's say they charge something, they fight it. The unit then fights the Hellbrute back. Then the Hellbrute gets to activate again because it was just in a fight. And then it gets to hit that unit, right? So if that unit is then killed, that means it can then consolidate, touch another unit. That unit has to respond and punch it. So then the Hellbrute gets to activate again and can cause a bad chain reaction. So for example, this happened in the battle report I did with the Stampa and the Gorkanaut Morkanaut, where the enemy had killed some Grots, then killed some Bikers in a very similar way, I'm assuming, like he was talking about. So you do have to be aware of that, even if you're playing it and you're aware it's when he has multiple, a lot of stuff's going on, it can happen. He said the tank busters and flash kits, though, took one out, though. Like I said, a tank buster in this case is very useful because you're not trying to go in charge or get more fights necessarily with multiple of these dumb little Hellbrutes. He said, and then the last thing he said, he should have turned WAD turn 2, not turn 3. So in this case, when it's a World Eaters matchup and you need to have also the defensive buffs, push them off that mid-table line when you're playing a Green Tide, I understand why he was saying that. And that's why he said he was a little too cautious. Of course, it makes sense if you're cautious, considering that World Eaters are some of the few melee profiles that can clear a lot of 20-man units of boys if they have the right setups and roll the right dice. He said knowing the rules better now that he's familiar, he feels like he can just match up out, and the opponents letting him knowing his role and him not knowing there was also a different difficulty that he had to overcome. So if you don't have that difficulty, of course you'll still feel strong in this matchup, and don't let him castle up is what he was saying as well, but I don't have a picture. We all know purge the foe, right? World Eaters actually for sure kill everything they want. Orcs, it's like kind of sometimes. So no shame there. It happens, and it was a great score, 83. Losing a game with an 86 point loss is respectable. So we move on to his third game where he makes his comeback. So he has Adeptus Mechanicus, the Halo Creed battle clay. So he has Battle Size Call, Tech Priest Manipulus, Techno Archaeologist, 2 units of Rangers, followed by 1 unit of Vanguard, a Scorpius Dune Rider, some 10-man units of Electro Priest, double individual las cannon chickens, 1 Onager Doomcrawler, double units of these battle clade servitors, which are excellent little trash units in my opinion. Excellent. Almost give Grots a run for their money for how interesting they are. Almost. Then we have Sicarian Infiltrators, 2 5-man units of that, followed by a Ruststalker brick of 10, and then double Scoporus Disintegrators with the Cladius Assassin. So he does have notes here, and there are some cool fun moments like we mentioned earlier with the boys. I have him over here, and he does have a picture for this one. Sorry guys, I had to scroll down too excitedly. This was layout 6, Search and and destroy deployment, hidden supplies. So the mission was mission I. So these are the guys that have the -1 to hit and melee ability, and those electro priests are crazy with the buff they can get with sustain and super volume of punches into boys. They are kind of soft because they got 1 wound apiece, but they have crazy volume. Again, he kept the boys in reserve. He was able to hold his natural expansion, corner, and sticky it, which was really nice. As I said, he was doing with the Chuck. He said he was able to deny and flip primary turn 2 and turn 3 and managed to hold on, declare his wall. He said of the call himself, the doom crawlers and the disintegrators were wearing him down, but he was managing to respond by killing his scoring pieces. He said, go and get them, save them with for doing beacon every turn. And then the one thing that he had mentioned other time when I was questioning him about how he felt about the boys was that he said those boys units being able to get out of trucks was a really big deal in this kind of matchup where he was able to tie up where he said he was able to I had it written down here, sorry guys. Yeah, he would tie up his electro priest, a chicken walker, call himself, and one of their gun platforms because he was doing this, letting the trucks get out, getting the boys get out trucks to cover space and getting skirmish fights. And that's what's actually important. It's good. It was a good call that he understood. He might not be able to reliably kill those big trucks and such. So it's trucks, sorry, those transports. So he would need to go for the trash and scoring because Adeptus Mechanicus kind of plays like a Xenos army where they're trying to swap all their bodies for points also. So let's go ahead and throw this on screen for you get. All right, you guys can see, right? Live chat can see. Yeah, you guys. All right. So as we were saying, oh, was this guard game? What the heck? Was this the wrong one? Hold on, pull this back. He might have sent the pictures out of order, and then I clicked the wrong one out of order. Let's see. Oh yeah, it was a wrong one. Sorry, guys. He only had one picture here, so it wasn't as exciting, but still cool. Great job. Still exciting though. We got pictures. So here's layout 6. This is the natural that he's talking about. As you can see, 20-man boys went right there. Touch it. He can grow back guys on there and sticky it. There's Snickross standing out in the open. The Doom Crawl. So these Doom Crawlers have good volume of shots into boys for the most part. Like it's not amazing, but it's good. It's respectable. Alongside their main weapon. Here's you can see 20-man unit of boys covering the distance here. This one's fanning out over there. And then those guys on their objective. Those are really cool looking little tanks, disintegrators, looking like bugs. And then Call he probably made his way down to this terrain piece. Boy truck moving over here, surrounded by that. He has tank busters in there. So awesome job by him here. And at least we had one picture there. So let me throw this off screen. All right, cool. And then we move on to his game 4. So then we go into his game 4 here, which was Mission L, Take and Hold, Search and Destroy, Layout 1, which was against Astra Militarum, which you kind of seen with the picture I put up on accident already. So he said he does have a lot of experience in games into this get and into this list. So keep that in mind. So it's Grizzled Company. We have Cadian Command Squad, followed by a Lord Solar Leontis, who will soon be getting replaced by a Yarick. No, I'm joking. We have a Tempestus Scion Squad with Sly Marbo, a Cadian Shock Squad, just 10-man, a big brick of Death Korgs of Krieg. He had 2 of those, and then 2 Torox Primes, 2 10-man units of Kazarkin, 1 unit of combat engineers, 2 Lehman Russ Vanquishers, and 2 Rogel Dorns with 1 5-man unit of Tempestus Scion. So he said, like I said, it was Take and Hold and Search and Destroy Layout 1. So he said what his main mission here was to bully him off the mid table because we're looking at it being. Let me see if I can pull up the right. If he has a picture for this one before I start trying to pull up the wrong picture. Okay, here it is. So I can't read that and show you that. I'll tell you this. I'll just finish reading the notes. Sorry, guys. Sometimes a little slow. So you said he went for throwing him off the mid table, and he was able to throw some distractions onto his natural. So the distractions are to make sure that he can't focus all his firepower off deleting the 20-man units that are in the middle, or maybe even on his own natural on our Tiger Melt's natural. So you have to go to try to flip the enemies, knowing that they have to prioritize cleaning you off so that they can end up actually scoring. So that's what he means by distraction. Wasn't able to kill his Lord Solar Leontis brick to score assassinate. he said he thinks that his opponent's target priority could have been a little better as well. So here's the pictures, like I was saying. So here we go. We have layout 1, which I do appreciate for this matchup. The enemy moved up to try to take that up terrain right away with that little scouting Torox. Probably had some Cadians in it, maybe. Who knows? In response, you can see the Mandos there. Another little Torox. Like I said, when he told me that this is where the tank busters were actually helpful to kill some of these little units like that, which matters because then you get the charges off on the guys inside. Here's some more pictures. Rogaldorn moved up. 20-man units of boys. Boys taking over, grabbing that terrain while holding on to his own. So you can see he's shuffled from inside this terrain to behind that boy covered distance. You see that? Yeah. Another picture here. Enemy responded to try to flip that objective back. He's just holding tight, getting chipped away at as these units are getting out trying to fight him. Again, more stuff in the middle. Excellent job with that. Truck's moving up now that slowly he's getting killed. The flash gets, tank busters getting out so they can get some shots downfield. That boy unit's suffering out there, but making it. And this is why you need on them boys to keep them Kazarkin off the field. On those Gretchen. Seal, you see this Dorn they moved up and made the charge on it, though. They're like, nah, we're going to keep trying to hold you. But see, he just tagging, wrapping, getting up the field. This Torox is still existing. Just, you can't kill the vehicles, but Tiger understood you got to go for the target scoring unit. You have to target the scoring units. And then this little mob makes this last push to try to probably flip that terrain. To try to flip that enemy's natural expansion. Shout out to that little dice box. I like that. Then, so awesome. Those were good pictures. Tiger Mouse was all involved. Probably because he was comfortable with his opponent. He was able to take more pictures. I understand that. But thank you very much. And that was a great win there. Again, 95. Sorry, I should have showed you the score already. So 95-point win there. Last game was an 82-point win. Then we move into his final matchup, which everyone's going to enjoy this. It was against an Ork matchup where we have the Warhorde of Josh Mars. So we have good old Warhorde versus Green Tide. We have a beast boss with Ed Wapus, Kill Chopper. A Big Mac with Follow Me Lads, Boss Nikra, and then Gaz Gulthraka, followed by triple war bosses. So he's brought all the heat in this Warhorde list. One Snagger Mob, 20 boys for Gaz, a Battle Wagon. Triple Breaker Boys, a Grot Mandos, a Storm Boy unit, one truck, and 2 War Bikers. So I like his list overall. I personally think he put all of the Breaker Boys and the War Bosses into the Battle Wagon. That way on the go turn, you wall, everybody disembarks at relatively similar positioning with good speed, and their profile is smaller, and they can all hide and be safe. And also, it's just a really super killy brick near Gaz, so they're getting the auras and such. Likely what I think. But I like the list. Awesome looking list here. But our boy Tiger Mouse did end up actually getting the win over our fellow Greenskin here. Really, I'm sure he was excited for that. And he has some notes and some pictures. I think he has a picture. Okay. I'll show you the pictures after I read a couple of his notes. But he said this was Mission G, Purge the Foe, Hammer Anvil, Warhorde. So he had to do Purge twice at this event. That sucked. Warhorde into Josh. And Josh is a top 10 Ork player in the world. Josh happens to go first. And his list is very hard in the killing Tans and Knights. As we can see based off what we looked at. He said our boy Tiger, 1 unit of Grots and boys in reserve. 1 of the bricks of boys with the war boss in reserve. He said Josh got unlucky with his secondaries and didn't get good purge points round 1. He only got 1. He said he ended up also calling a wall first. So Josh called the wall first. He forced emergency disembarks. The breakers one-shot the trucks, obviously. And he said the gets in the yellow trucks were able to pepper some shots into gas bricks. He said my tank busters and tank busters himself, their bomb squigs, nades, and everything else he could do, just chip damage, took out the wagon. He said that what happened was because his transport had gotten blown up and the flash kits had gotten out and they were just standing in place, that he was able to use the 5-man units of flash kits to stand still, which means they get heavy. So now they're hitting on 4s, and then he was able to shoot the Breaker Boys. Ooh. So yeah, he said the difference was if he would have actually done a different activation on Breaker Boys, when he would have popped the trucks, he could have consolidated or pile in to get into the flash kits, but he didn't do the right sequence correctly, so then he was able to stand in place. He said after that response, Gaz was able to crash into the bottom of no man's land, and then he brought in his reserves. So Tiger then brought in that 20-man unit of mob of boys and the war boss on that same flank. He said the opponent didn't fight on death with Gaz, but he thinks that he should have. But after the boys cleaned up Gaz, he ran out of steam and his assets. So Gaz ran into Tiger because Tiger doesn't have his own melt, his own Gaz on this list. Tiger responds with bringing his reserve guys in, crashing into the Gaz boys unit, and then the boys all unitedly just blend down Gaz eventually. Once Gaz is blended out, they run out of steam just like any other orc matchup. Another thing that he told me when I did question him a little bit more was, well, in the boys getting out did end up creating more space as well for him to breathe when it was that actual go turn. So when the go turn was on Josh and declared the wall into Tiger, with Stefan Tiger, he would had created a wall with the boys from them getting out of the truck. So he said that was very, very important, and that made a big deal to allow him to breathe during that big wall push that allowed him to have enough steam to respond with the wall, kill him, and end up still keeping the lead and retain the lead in the end. So the awesome, great job there. Because if you let a Warhorde hit you, even if it's not optimized for that, they can still do some serious damage. Now here is the pictures. I think he was only a 2. But as he mentioned, here is the battle wagon with all the breaker boys in it. Here's Gas. There's a truck just staged up there. It's a really good list overall by him. And then he still had the biker units. So bikers are great skirmishers. Too bad they're also only strength 4 though. So when they do go into those 10-man units of boys or even some commandos, there's a chance that they don't really kill that many and just start standing there and become leapfrogs. So other orc green tide mobs can charge them. And then here's some little mandos he used to create some space. So yeah, awesome. This is a fantastic list. Josh's list looks awesome as a yellow orc list, but then he also has his own yellow gets on his side for Tiger. So I bet you that was a very fun game from what I could tell it was, and he enjoyed it very much. And shout out to this Git for getting, so here we go. Sorry, I was like, what am I not erasing that? For getting an 86-point win there and ending up in 3rd place against some real good fellow green skin competition. And shout out to his unique green tie. So this was Boss Snickrot, Pain Boy with Bloodthirsty Belligerents, a War Boss with Ferocious Show Off, a War Boss with no enhancements, and then a Weird Boy. 2 20-man units of boys, 3 10-man units of boys, 2 trucks, 2 flash kits, 2 Gretchen, 1 Mandos, and then 2 Tank Buster units. One thing Tiger did say that he did like the boy units, but he might end up dropping one of the 10-man units of boys. Maybe not. And he said he might want some Zod Grot, Wartsnagger Grots implemented in this. I'm totally in favor of that, and I'm here for it. Also, last but certainly not least, he had actually won competition for his Mando, and this was the same Mando that I think he did good on a paint competition in, or I've seen him in it. So awesome. Great job. Sounds like an excellent time. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!